Have you ever run out of water? Imagine how thirsty you would be. You would probably be upset and cranky. Years ago, God told Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. And Moses did. But they had a water problem. The Israelites were out of water again. So they started complaining to Moses. Why did you bring us out of Egypt to die in this desert? They grumbled. There's nothing good to eat, and there's no water to drink here. They didn't mumble about this once or twice. Again and again they complained, and their voices growing louder and louder. How many times had Moses heard that? In fact, the people had complained about having no water 40 years earlier. At that time, God had told Moses to strike the rock, and the water has gushed out. Gallons of water had poured out, and it kept pouring from out of the rock as long as the people were there. So here they were again without water. Instead of trusting God to care for their needs, they grumbled and complained. And Moses, as he always did, turned to God for help. God told Moses to take his staff, his walking stick, and call his brother Aaron. They were to gather all the people together. Speak to the rock, and it will pour out its water, God said. Moses had been patient for a long time. But after 40 years of listening to the Israelite grumble, he had heard enough. He was angry, and he was tired of their complaining and grumbling. Once more, they were showing that they didn't trust God. Moses was so irritated that he forgot it was God who had caused all the miracle to happen. God had caused water to flow out of the rock 40 years before. Only God could do it again. Only God could make it flow again. But Moses forgot. He felt he is the one who could make the water come from the rock. Listen, you rebels. Must we bring you water out of this rock? He yelled at the people. Then he raised his arm and hit the rock twice with his staff. And God made the water gush out. Moses may have felt quite pleased with himself for a moment. He probably wanted to yell at the people for a long time, and it may have felt good to hit that rock. But Moses had given the impression that the power to make water flow had come from him and Aaron. So God was dishonored. If Moses had obeyed, it would have reminded the people that although Moses was their leader, he got all his instructions from God. Then God spoke again in his calm and gentle voice. Moses, Moses, you didn't trust me, not even to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, God said. Because of that, you won't bring this community into the promised land that I give them. Immediately, Moses realized what he had done. he too had forgotten to trust God. He had forgotten for a moment who was really leading Israel. For 40 years, Moses and Aaron had struggled in the wilderness. For 40 years, they had led God's people, but Moses and Aaron couldn't go into the promised land. The Israelites had to learn that whoever their leader was, that person had to trust God completely and honor all God's instructions. God wants us to honor and worship Him. We worship God when we do what He asks of us. We worship God when we trust His leading.